Hello, and welcome to Second House Watch, a little program that we here at the Nebraska Legislative Study Group do to try and help folks stay informed on the happenings of the Unicameral. Beginning out with me tonight, we have fellow organizers Cindy Maxwell Osdick, Kristen Dupree, and Marianne Williams. Hello.
Hey, Angie.
Hi, guys.
So we have a lot to talk about tonight, so we're just going to kind of move forward. We're going to start first. We'll get into a little legislative recap of what happened this week, and then Cindy will visit with us about some upcoming hearings and make sure everybody knows how to testify. After that, Kristen will go over some bills that we're watching, and we'll have guest Melody from Nebraska's Against Gun Violence join us to talk about some of the bills that they're concerned about. And then we will have Brooklyn do an election review where we can help you get up to speed on the candidates that are up for election and running for office this election year. And then Christy will join us to go over some cool new stuff that the study group has going on. And that'll be our evening. So to start out, the second, of course, the second I start, my son comes to the table. Thanks. The second session of the 107th Nebraska Legislature kicked off on Wednesday, January 5th, with Senator McAllister paying tribute to George Norris, who is the father of our nonpartisan unicameral. As we celebrated the 85th birthday of our unique legislative system. The study group had the opportunity to join in this celebration with Nonpartisan Nebraska. And we kind of did this all-day live stream where we had the opportunity to visit with former and current senators about their experiences and thoughts in the Nebraska legislature and our unique unicameral system. If you missed it, you can find a recording of it on our Facebook and our YouTube pages, or we'll also get the link posted in the comments. So we kicked off on Wednesday the 5th, and during speaker announcement, Senator Hilgers stated that the majority of the rules in the second session were the same as in the first session. There were two minor changes about final time limits or final reading time limits and time limits on A bills. The speaker also explained how he'll be prioritizing bills on the floor. So when it comes to debate this session, he'll begin with priority bills that are introduced this session in 2022, and those are introduced the first 10 days of session. And then he will be moving on to the priority bills that were introduced last session. And then if they manage to get through that, they will move, he'll put them on the agenda in a scheduled order. So kind of like first come, first serve type thing. He also stated that they would hopefully be getting into the budget the end of February, beginning of March. So as he kind of laid out those bills, he did say that that first Monday they would get into all-day floor debates, and that they would start with the four bills that he currently had. And that was LR 14, LB 310, LB 364, and LB 376. So true to his word, they began all-day debates on Monday, and they started with LR 14. So LR 14 is resolution to Congress to Convention of the States to propose amendments to the United States Constitution. So basically, this is to have a resolution that we would go to the United States Constitution to make changes. Initially, the bill was introduced by Senator Halloran the beginning of last session, and it was actually indefinitely postponed. But then Senator Flood successfully moved to suspend the rules and have it brought back. And so Senator Halloran has once again made it a priority bill this session. They did try to filibuster it. Unfortunately, the filibuster was unsuccessful, and so it did move to enrollment and review, the initial. So it will be back up on the floor. I want to go ahead and show you all that vote. So it should be coming up there. All righty. So on. Oh, do I have the right one pulled up? Is that LR14? Okay. What the heck? Sorry, I had this already. Okay, so our vote on LR14. Oh my gosh. LR14.
I think there were
Okay.
32 yes votes. I think I looked at it before. Is that what you're
Yeah,
seeing?
it was. Yeah, I wanted to give the names. Here they are. Okay, so there was 32 yes, 10 no. Present not voting was 4, and excused not voting was 3. So some of the names that it's been kind of going around to focus on to give them a call and make sure that they say they vote no on moving this forward for any constitutional amendments is Senator Bostar voted yes. Senator Blood was excused not voting. Uh, both Senator John Kavanaugh and Senator Michaela Kavanaugh was present not voting. DeBoer was excused not voting. And then I believe Senator Wayne was a yes. And I had the other one. Cindy, do you remember who the other yes was?
Was it McDonald?
Yes. Yes, McDonald. Thanks. So we will be following up with that more and keeping up on keeping everybody informed on when to contact. But for right now, go ahead and contact your state legislature and ask them to either move not vote no for this going forward or continue voting no for this. We don't want any constitutional changes right now.
It's
Yeah.
the scope, it's unknown, kind of nothing's really off limits. There's no guardrails, so it's and just with the polarized environment that we're in, it's just kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what the filibuster was discussing.
It is on the agenda for tomorrow.
Oh, is it on the agenda already for tomorrow? Okay,
later in the day.
Yeah, so Bostar, Wayne, McDonald, and
do we think Wishart is going to be a no this time?
She stated she'd be a no. It sounds like she did some vote trading which would allow it to kind of get back on the floor, but she has stated she'll be a no. So
okay, that's good.
And then I think a lot of those folks that were not present to vote, like Senator Blood, I don't know, I haven't confirmed, but I would assume Senator Blood would be a no. So yeah, we just need to make sure that we're getting a hold of our state legislatures and asking them not to move forward with a constitutional convention right now, because it's just too polarizing right now to have a discussion on changing our constitutional rights.
I would also say that it's important to contact your senator, even if they did vote yes and they were from the other party. I guess, as a nonpartisan unicameral, we should be holding all of our elected officials to that high standard. And so hopefully maybe even some of them that originally voted yes and meant to would change their mind.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And then there was LB 310, which was Clemence's inheritance tax bill, which moved forward to enrollment and review with a vote of 41-4. So I was pretty okay with everyone. I think the minor hesitations was like Senator Hunt, just asking about, inheritance tax, inequalities, and stuff like that. So then there was LB 364, which was Linehan's Opportunity Scholarships Act and to provide tax credits. That was a bill that would provide tax credits to folks who donated money to scholarship funds for private schools. I think that we are Senator Linehan. This didn't LB 364 didn't move forward, but Senator Linehan has already stated that she will be introducing still this session more legislation that basically does the same thing. So we will definitely be keeping our eyes open for that. And I think we as a study group are also going to work on doing some more informational and educational things on this type of legislation and what it would and wouldn't do. There's an idea that there's a real divide on this as far as what this bill will do. And we want to make sure that, we understand that public schools have holes and problems that need to be filled, but this bill does not do that. It wouldn't provide, it would basically just provide tax money for rich people that donate to schools. It wouldn't there's no requirement that those scholarships be non-discriminatory. So, it could go to Catholic schools, which we know are biased and bigoted towards the LGBTQ community. There's just no stipulations on where this could go. I personally live in North Omaha and have students in school here in North Omaha. And while I understand that there are a lot of changes that need to happen in our public school systems, I also know that even if that bill were to pass and manage to provide a couple of children scholarships to get into private schools, that wouldn't change the fact that the vast majority of children in this area will have been left behind in that plan. So the study group does not support LB 364. We are glad that it was stopped while still acknowledging and recognizing we have a lot of work to be done in our public schools. This just isn't the bill. So we're going to be doing more on that, and we are kind of limited in time. So I feel like I could go on and on about that whole situation altogether, but we will be putting out more information, especially as we move forward and Linehan plans on introducing something else. And then the final fourth bill that was mentioned during speaker announcements that we'd first go for is LB 376, which is Senator Michaela Kavanaugh's bill. And Cindy, since you have followed that a little bit more closely, would you mind kind of explaining where that's at and kind of how it didn't make it to the floor yet?
Well, I'm not privy, I guess, to exactly why it isn't yet up for a vote.
First, will you explain what it is? Sorry.
Yes, I'm so sorry. Senator Michaela Kavanaugh's bill regarding the developmentally disabled waiver, funding that disability waiver list, that bill is something that she's amazing, has brought for several years. And last year it did not progress. She prioritized it again, and it was on the schedule the other day. And I was surprised that it hadn't been, they didn't move forward with it. But I guess they may be doing some things in the background to try to secure more votes. So I'm really looking forward to that finally making it to the floor and hopefully passing, especially since we do seem to have more funds available to the state right now. These are the types of things that we should definitely be focusing on. These families need our help.
For sure. So we definitely want to be contacting our senators over that and letting them know to please support the advancement of LB 376 to help out at least some of those folks on those waivers and that wait list. So those were kind of the main ones that got discussed this past week. Cindy, did you want to kind of recap on or give us an update on what's coming up in the upcoming hearings? And actually, sorry, I just saw a comment. So we have a couple comments. Let's do that real quick. Is that okay? Okay, so our first comment is, does it do any good to contact other senators? I would say yes, it does do good to contact other senators. I think it's more we hear a lot that, they primarily listen to their constituents, but they also recognize that they represent the entire state of Nebraska, or that what they do impacts the entire state of Nebraska. So I think it's pertinent to get to your own senators, but reach out to everyone, right? What do you guys have thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's good to share your thoughts with as many senators as you think are relevant. Recently with the Scholarship and Opportunity Act that Angie was talking about, Senator Pauls, he was speaking on the floor about it, and he was opposing it, and he has experience in the Millard School District, and I live in the Millard School District, so I reached out to him and said, I oppose this as well, and thank you for your position and supporting public education. So I think it's I think the more the better.
Awesome. And then Cindy, maybe that kind of helps lead into our talk about upcoming hearings and testimonies and how to contact your senators.
Sure. And I'll also put a link in the comments below about the disability waiver waiting list. Someone had asked in the comments about that, and it is something that the ARC of Nebraska follows very closely. And so there's some information we can share from them that gives more details about it. And as far as the contact that we as Nebraskans have with our senators, it is so important. And lots of us may not know if our senators have changed since redistricting. It is important that everyone go back and recheck your address. And we can put that in the chat below as well, just to make sure that you know who your senator is and introduce yourself, even if it is just to contact them and say, these are my priorities, these are the things I'm concerned about, and not even about a specific bill. But as we're watching specific bills go through the process, it is vital that you be in touch with your senator and let them know your priorities. The process on a specific bill, the best way to make an impact is to be in touch with your own senator and testify at a committee hearing. Every bill gets a hearing and is the opportunity for Nebraskans to speak publicly about our being proponents or opponents to it. And there is no ability to do written testimony in lieu of oral testimony this year like they did for COVID last year. So if you're not able to testify in person and have your comments included in the official transcript, you can also submit online comments, and they would be included in the official record for the hearing as like an exhibit. And if you want to do that, there is a deadline that you would go to the online comments for that particular bill after it's been scheduled for a hearing. And if you do it before noon on the last working day before the committee hearing, it will be included in the official record. And I have heard senators already today with our first hearings comment on having received position letters. That's what we used to call position letters. It's important to remember with the online comments that you must verify your comment. They'll be sending an email to you and you have to click and verify it. And then after you've verified it, then it will be submitted. So that's part of that deadline. And Marianne kind of found out a little bit about that today. So you want to make sure that you do it well before noon. And if it's after the committee hearing or at any other point during the life of the bill, you can make an online comment and it will be shared with all the senators that they can access it and take a look at it even as they're debating it on the floor. So the only other thing I wanted to comment is that we've said this all along, and it is an additional step. And it's unfortunate, but it is something that we've recommended. In addition to doing an online comment, please also copy that information and send it to your senator, the introducing senator of the bill, and all the committee members that will be considering that bill within their committee. We just think it's really important that they all have your direct
right
input.
Right. And some of them might email back and be like, hey, just wanted to let you know that you submit this online. And if they do, you can just say, yes, I know. And I did, but I also just wanted to make sure that you saw this, yeah. So one of the things I thought, Cindy, that was interesting when we were helping with the nonpartisan Nebraska event on George Norris Day, was how many of those senators talked about the importance of kind of having that ongoing relationship with their constituency, in order to, kind of be heard, and how much they seemed to express that they did listen to those
Yes.
folks that were in constant, communication with them and building and developing that rapport. I also thought it was super neat when Senator Hunt mentioned that um, she saw it more her job to reach out to the constituents than the constituents' job to reach out to her. But yeah, that was kind of a common theme amongst both former senators, current senators, Republican, Democrat, nonpartisan, the kind of the recurring theme was build a relationship with me. Let's get a rapport so that I know what your community needs are. And
And
we're lucky
I,
to be able to do that with such a small legislature.
it's so important. And one of the very best things about being in Nebraska with our unicameral, because we all have a responsibility and the opportunity to be involved with legislation and helping our senators know how important this is to our lives and our livelihoods. So please take advantage of that. It is not something that people in other states really kind of, unless they have access with relationships for donor situations or lobbying and things like that, we're really unique here in Nebraska. We're lucky.
Yeah, for sure. I see we have another question. So it says, what is the threshold for filibuster in Nebraska? I assume it's similar to the national filibuster, which kills bills without wide support. Is it 60, 66%? So in Nebraska, it's 33 to end cloture, right? 33 out of 49 votes.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for the question. Next we will move forward to bills to watch. So Kristen, you want to let us know what we should be looking at?
Yeah. Yes, there are. I picked, 5 or 6, so we wouldn't overwhelm ourselves with too many to focus on. But these are primarily the bills that will be in hearing this week or next week. And so I'm kind of going in chronological order here. So the first that we are watching and concerned with is LB 774, and that's introduced by Senator Brewer, and that will be the Government, Military, and Veteran Affairs Committee tomorrow. So it's called the Adopt the First Freedom Act. So it is too late to submit comments and for them to be included in the online transcript, but you can still submit comments online or email, your senator, or if any of the senators, any and all on the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. So what this bill would do, it would allow religious entities and organizations to opt out of laws, local ordinances, or healthcare directives kind of at the local level. And it's concerning also because the wording is very broad. So it's hard to even identify all of the consequences that we could see from a bill like this. But a few examples come to mind. And one is it would allow healthcare workers and I believe payers too, so insurance companies, to refuse services or treatments for religious reasons. So that would, potentially negatively affect our friends in the LGBTQ plus community as well. So another thing we're kind of worried about is opting out of like a conversion therapy ban. And I believe the city of Lincoln was able to ban conversion therapy because that's proven to be pretty harmful for the LGBTQ plus community as well. And we don't want to see that ban overturned. And then also just future pandemic health directives is the next thing that comes to mind. That affects it's a public health initiatives are for the good of the public, and if not everyone is complying, then it's not going to be as effective. So a lot of things here, and even just a quick email to say you oppose this can go a long way. For the next bill, it's also introduced by Senator Brewer, and it is LB 773. And this is a bill that would it would prohibit, sorry, I'm getting a little backwards here. It would allow people to conceal carry firearms without a permit. And we actually,
is this the Q Melody bill?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. We have a guest speaker to fill us in on the details for this bill. So Melody Vaccaro, she's the executive director of Nebraskans Against Gun Violence. So Melody, do you want to fill us in on some of the concerns of this bill? And you are muted.
Got it. Thanks for having me on tonight.
Thanks for coming.
This group does such important work, and I am your biggest fan every legislative session.
Thank you.
So I wanted to say that. But yeah, so this bill is called permitless carry, is how it's often called. Sometimes people call it, which I think is somewhat of a perverse name, of constitutional carry, as though the Second Amendment does not include the phrase well regulated. And actually, if you go into a lot of gun spaces, like shooting ranges, they'll have the Second Amendment up on the wall in decals, and they just leave it off. Like, they just don't put it on there. So just so you know, like, it's referred to in two different ways. Permitless carry, I think, is a little more honest, and it kind of explains to you exactly what they're trying to do is say you can carry a concealed handgun basically anywhere. There's two pieces I think that are important for people to understand about the bill. One piece is that they don't want to repeal the concealed carry permit. They want to keep it on the books. People will still be able to get their background check, do their training, and get a state-issued permit to concealed carry. And the reason that states who enact permitless carry keep the permit on the books is to have reciprocity agreements with other states. So if you get your Nebraska firearm permit to conceal carry, you will be allowed to conceal carry in other states that have agreements with Nebraska. Okay, so I just think sometimes that can be confusing. So we're not repealing the permit. What we are saying is you don't need it anymore. So if you are a Nebraskan in Nebraska, when you repeal the permit, you don't need it anymore. When you repeal the requirement to have it. And so that means places that are currently prohibited under the concealed carry permit statute, which this whole statute, you can read it. It's pretty short and it's pretty straightforward. It's in the Nebraska Against Gun Violence website, and I think someone put a link in the comments. And so you can read it, but it does things like say you can't bring a concealed carry handgun into a polling place. Well, if you say that this legislation isn't required anymore, then by default you can, because there's no rules. Then by default, you can bring it into a hospital. You can bring it into a city council meeting, a school board meeting. And we know school board meetings have been very hot across the state, big feelings. Now imagine if everybody was armed in those rooms, right? So like this is the kind of thing. And then the other thing, of course, that we know is when you have more guns, you get more gun violence. Right? Like this is really very basic statistical math. If I put a bunch of something in a space, that something is going to have an impact in the space, right? And so, of course, you're going to end up with more incidents with, you know, and they can range. They may not be directly tied to increased homicides. They may just be more incidences of, hey, look, I know we're having a spat about this like driving issue when you bumped into me, but I want you to know that now I'm armed. And so that's just going to deeply change the dynamic of this situation. And of course, that stuff can always happen now. But when you say we totally normalize and accept that background checks, training, shooting tests, education, gun safety messaging, all of that is irrelevant and not necessary to bring guns in public spaces. That's a problem, and I think there is this myth that there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of brouhaha involved in getting a concealed carry permit. And that's simply not true. You take 1 8-hour class and you fill out a paper to do your background check. This is not a high standard. You never have to take more training. It is harder to maintain a CPR certification than it is to maintain a concealed carry permit, right? It's harder to maintain your driver's license than it is to maintain a concealed carry permit, right? So this is not hard. It's very simple. There's not even a written test. You literally go to the class and you get your concealed carry permit one day. So that's what the bill is. If anybody has questions, they can reach out to me through Nebraskans Against Gun Violence. We have a Facebook group. We have an email list you can find on our website. And we'll just send out more information as we have it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you, Melody. And, something else I'm kind of worried about, or that concerns me with this, is, we saw record gun sales in 2020 and across the country, and I'm sure Nebraska is no exception. Just with all the uncertainty, it's an election year, there is a pandemic, and so a lot of first-time gun owners just acquired a gun, and if this were to go through, then they would be able to conceal carry without any safety training, as Melody was saying. So
yeah, I mean, not that long ago there were, and maybe there are now again, that kind of comes in cycles, but we were seeing huge shortages. Gun stores were totally sold out of ammo. They were totally sold out of guns, right? And that happened in Nebraska as well as everywhere around the country. We also know the number one reason that somebody dies from a gunshot wound is suicide, not homicide. It is suicide. And so we have Senator McAllister, who keeps trying to put more suicide prevention education as part of the concealed carry permit process, brochures, instructor training, things like that. Right? We really do have a gun violence problem, and it is not everybody needs to arm up to go to the grocery store because you might be killed by someone else. And it's not a kill or be killed here in Nebraska. That's not real. That's not real life. And so, I think people need to put on their rational, pragmatic hats when they think about this issue and this topic. It's not too much to ask people to take 1 day of training and do a background check. It's actually probably not enough if we're really being serious. So, a repeal of that requirement is shenanigans.
Yeah. So, Angie, do we have any questions related to this bill?
Sorry, I was listening to her so intensely, I forgot to look. Let me. So here we have one from Vicky. Melody, is this the exact same concealed carry bill as last time? So is this
I don't know if I want to go on the record saying it's exactly the same, but it is the same concept. Yeah, they tried to do this last year, same legislative session, but in 2021. That bill, through legislative magic, ended up being a bill we were really happy about, and we congratulated Senator Brewer and took a big selfie on the last day of the legislature with him. Wild. Maybe that will happen this time.
Yeah.
Unlikely, but you never know.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I think the biggest difference was the bill allowed each county to opt out. Except
that's right.
The 3, Douglas, Sarpy, and Lancaster, were excluded, but all the other 90 counties could decide if they were going to opt out of the Handgun Permit Act. And then the Attorney General said, no, that can't be decided at the county level. That's a state law, so that they don't have the authority to do that. And then now the change is, well, okay, it's all or nothing then. So it was a short term, like, yes, big win. and hopefully, yeah, there'll be some meaningful opposition this time around.
And, it's interesting because they push that kind of idea. And it's the same, right, with this First Freedoms piece, right, where they're like, we want different entities to be able to opt out. They're weakening the authority of the state government. But at the same time, they're not strengthening local government. They're not saying, well, then local government can actually make rules that are bigger and stronger than the state. Or local government can say, we want to have less rules. They're not doing it both ways. They want to keep chipping away at public protections at the state level and let counties chip away at them as well. But let's say Omaha or Lincoln, or let's say Chadron, there's a college and there's a lot of stuff going on in Chadron, right? And let's say they're like, we think we should have a higher standard for concealed carry permits. They don't actually want local government governing these things. They want anarchy for all, chaos for all. You're all on your own, have your own. You're just on your own. And so I think it's important to think about that. And that is the goal here. It is anarchy. It is not, they're not looking for good governance, and they will try anything and say anything to just get to the end goal, which is deregulation.
Right. I think that's all the questions I'm seeing in the comments. We did put the information in the website in the links though, and then we flashed it on the screen a couple times too. So thank you, Melody.
Thank you, Melody. Yeah, that was great. Good. Okay, so we will keep moving away from firearm regulation and into the TIOSA formula. So next Tuesday, there's a hearing on Senator Walz. Her priority bill, I think she's the chair of the Education Committee, and this is the big change that would increase the state aid to public K through 12 education funding, and then they'd be able to decrease the property tax levy that goes to fund schools. So we think I think it's more equitable, or it has a chance to be more equitable if we depend less on property taxes to fund schools, because we know the neighborhoods and parts of town that have higher property values then typically have more funding that goes to the neighborhood schools. So if we can kind of equalize that and increase the overall state contribution to the formula, that will move us in the direction towards a more equitable funding formula. I haven't dug into that a whole lot, but that's sort of the overview of that bill. And that's also LB 890. I think I forgot to mention that. And then Wednesday, the 26th, in the Government, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee, there are a couple bills that I have highlighted, and there's a third they're all related to voting provisions and election rules. The first is LB 843, and that's introduced by Senator Brewer. And it's change provisions related to elections is kind of how that's described. So this is what appears to be a very broad, lengthy bill. It's 48 pages. That when we, I don't have a lot of details on it right now, but we are hoping to have kind of a follow-up session with another organization that's kind of the experts in that arena, and to kind of give us the nuts and bolts of what that bill would change. And then on the same day, LB 785, introduced by Senator Groney. That's a pretty short one, but it would kind of falls into the category of voter suppression a bit. It's changing the provisions related to early voting. So right now, days for early voting. In statute, it says jurisdictions have to provide at least 35 days for early voting, but this bill would change that to no more than 22 days. So, we want to make voting as easy as possible to make sure everyone can participate in our democracy and influence policy that way. So we like to keep voting as easy as possible. 35 days is good, kind of where that's at. Then I guess I'll stop there. I have one more just a note that was introduced today. But just from the group or any comments, are there any more bills that people kind of have their eyes on? I just wanted to give the opportunity to the group to add anything, or if there's any questions too. Yeah, so Marianne is reminding us, there are several important juvenile justice bills being heard tomorrow on the 19th. Yeah, John Kavanaugh, McKinney and Wayne are introducing them. So probably in the Judiciary Committee. So if we kind of follow up with those numbers. I did also, I guess that reminds me, the criminal justice, the CGI report, that there's kind of a push to delay the release of that report, but that was released, I think on Friday or just a few days ago, and that includes lots of different policy suggestions and recommendations in order to support criminal justice reform. So that will be good to look at, and we can post something on our page if we haven't done that already. Okay. I know the new prison and just criminal justice sentencing reform is going to be a big topic this session.
Yeah, and that's definitely something that the study group has been following the lead and communicating with the ACLU and different interests about, so that we can share informed opinions on that. Marianne was initially with us, but she must have been having some internet problems. So she is commenting as you just read the juvenile justice. She's also talking about kind of, they range from prohibited law enforcement, from lying to minors to getting confessions, etc., requiring a parent or counsel when being questioning. So she's kind of putting some of that information in the group, and then, or in the comments. And then also there was a question about what is Senator Walls's bill number. Do you guys remember off the top of your head which?
Yeah, it's 890.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then we also have a question about, does anyone know when the abortion bans are up for committee? So I don't know that they've been scheduled, that anything on abortion has been scheduled. I haven't seen that. But so I just wanted to use this as an opportunity to kind of explain that part of what we do with the study group is that we keep track of these legislations. We also follow along with different organizations that kind of are more specialized in some of these things, so that we can help communicate with nonprofits and different organizations and make sure we have heads up and stuff. Previously in the past, what the study group has done is we tried to go through and follow like every single bill that was introduced. And that just becomes incredibly overwhelming, especially when half of them don't see the floor. So kind of the direction that we've taken is that we're looking at those public hearings and we're looking at the agenda. So as we monitor those public hearings, when those come up, we will post on our page. We'll be putting in, kind of our weekly calls to action, like, hey, these are the bills that you probably want to look at. And then we'll also put up our more urgent calls to action, which is like, all hands on deck, everybody contact your senators or the committee, or submit this about that. So please do follow our page. And if you're so inclined, become a member of the group. We also have sorry, I'm pushing too many buttons. We also have a a website, www.nelegislativestudygroup.com. Please make sure that you go to the website, check out our information there. We have an action page that we'll be getting these events and hearings up on too. You can sign up with our member list, and we are working on getting an email system set up as well so that we can send out alerts to help make sure that those calls to actions are getting up to our membership. So if was that it for you, Kristen, or?
I just to mention, it was just introduced today, so yeah, no, hearing scheduled, but LB 1077 introduced by Ben Hansen, that seems to be what equates to an anti-critical race theory legislation that we've seen in the other states. It prohibits public schools and more, even governmental entities, from training or teaching certain concepts relating to race and sex. So that's just a heads up that's kind of the, I think
it's like it's never, and it's
of
it doesn't
critical race theory.
Yeah, it doesn't feel coincidental that this was introduced on the same day that certain people announced for governor and certain people held, I don't know. It doesn't seem coincidental. And it also makes me wonder, because it was either last year or the session before, I think, that Senator Slama introduced the Americanism bill. So they already had legislation that they passed to work on addressing what was taught in history and what was taught throughout the schools. So why do they need another bill? Were they not able to successfully pass as much racism and bigotry as they would have liked to have the first time? It's all very interesting. I think that they should maybe leave it to the Department of Education and stop having lawyers and legislatures determine what it is taught in our public school systems. Maybe let the teachers do that. Sorry.
It's frustrating. I'll stop there, though. I don't want to pick up more time.
All righty. Well, thank you, Kristen. Looks like up next, we're going to bring in Brooklyn for our election review. Hey, Brooklyn.
Hello.
I'm going to give you the floor. Do you need to share a screen or anything, or are you good?
Well, I'm just going to share the link to the doc, but, it's been shared multiple times, so I don't think I need the screen. I'll copy the link so they can share it in the comments, though.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, nothing much new on the candidate front that we didn't already know. The link for the document is there. And also shout out to Morgan. I saw her in the comments. She's the one that did all the legwork on finding the statistics from the 2018 and 2020 elections to kind of compare each of the districts and how they voted. So I saw her commenting, so I wanted to give her a shout out for doing that.
Morgan.
Thanks, Morgan. Everyone up for election this year is in the even numbered districts. So District 2, 4, 6, 8, and on. I have I've reached out to all the new candidates who are running to set up the candidate interviews. And I've heard back from a few saying they're checking their schedules, from Corey Villegas, and she's running in District 14 against Senator Arch. That's my district, La Vista Papillion area. And then also I've heard back from James Michael Bowers. He is running in Adam Moorfeld's district, who's term limited. And he's checking with his campaign manager about when would be a good time. So both of them showed interest. And I do think that Rachel Benzoni will do it as well. And she's running in District 18. That's Brett Lindstrom's district right now. So that's kind of where we're at on all those. And we will be doing those on Tuesday evenings at hopefully starting in February, depending on when the candidates get in gear and want to start doing it. I don't want to overshadow things, that are important in the session. So we'll try to work around that too. So that's kind of the update on that. I haven't really added any of the GOP candidates yet. Other than I know we want to keep an eye on District 12, which is Steve Lathrop's district, because apparently a seditionist is running in that district, someone who was at the insurrection. And I believe, I don't know who it was. I'll have to look into that. And then, of course, against our own Cindy, we have Bacon endorsed, don't even know his name, Von somebody. So those are the only two GOPs I know so far, but I will keep working on that. I don't want to give them too much attention or time, but
Right.
I do want to watch the ones that are worrisome, that we really want to, make sure to support their opponent. But yeah, I'm going to have to dig into that a little bit more deeply, but yeah, that's basically it. Those will start coming up, those interviews, as soon as the candidates I've sent. And then I haven't reached out to the incumbents yet, because I was going to wait for them to, kind of get through the session and for us to give a chance to the new candidates to give them some time first. And then maybe, closer to April or May, the incumbents can start doing the interviews too. Cindy.
Brooklyn, can you tell everybody, because we might have new members, some of the people that we interviewed last time for this process, like McKinney, some of the other people that ended up getting elected?
Yeah, I actually use that as a kind of a like, hey, this might help you. In the emails I said, fun fact, in 2020, several of the people who we did the interviews with won their elections, including Senator Terrell McKinney, Senator John Kavanaugh, and Senator Carol Blood. All three of them did the interviews. All three of them won their elections. And
did Jen Day, or I know we were active in the group.
I don't think we got Jen interviewed, but she did win her election.
But she came to the meet and greet that we had.
Right. Every candidate that was in that picture at the meet and greet won their election. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think we're good luck.
Well, and I think it speaks a lot to, folks being willing to get out and talk to people and meet people and pick up every opportunity that they have to speak to voters. So I think it's a good opportunity for our membership. It's also a good opportunity for these folks to get their names and ideas and platforms out. So
definitely, yeah.
So thanks for keeping up on all the election stuff for us, Brooklyn, and getting that all organized.
No problem.
All righty, moving right along. We're about done. I don't want to take up everybody's time. We're gonna bring on Christy here if she's ready. Christy, are you ready?
Hello.
Hello.
I am here to talk about merchandise, everybody's favorite topic. We are finally going to start selling swag. I do have a hoodie on that is.
Yay, I love it.
Angie, I think, has a link. She can maybe share the site.
Yeah.
It's not 100% live yet because I have to figure out shipping costs. We can add that in. But basically, we have a selection of t-shirts and we have a coffee mug. So for all of your needing to show your unicameral love, I guess. So click through the sweatshirts. We only have in gray, but like on the t-shirts, I have these in multiple colors. Coffee mug is actually two-sided. So if we click on that, we might be able to get pictures of both. It's got our logo on the other side.
Sweet.
Pretty much everything is some sort of combination of that quote, the salvation of the state is watchfulness in the citizen. And we're the second house. There is kind of a cheeky one, watchful citizen t-shirt. So if you wanted to show up at the unicameral and show that you are indeed a watchful citizen. It will say it right on your chest. So,
Yep. And definitely if folks have ideas that they'd like to see, they should
yes, please let
let
me
us know.
know. Also, if anybody knows of any print-on-demand companies that are user-friendly and inexpensive, let me know, because this is winding up to be a little bit pricey. But we are going to use it to help pay for our website and for our StreamYard hosting. So think of it as almost like a way of donating to the group if you'd like.
So we'll just throw out there a reminder that we are a grassroots, all volunteer organization. So all of the work that is done here is put together by our team of organizers and some help from members here and there. So the costs that we have do include things like StreamYard, which we use to run these programs. We do have a website to help get that information and those calls to actions out. So we decided that if we could sell some of the swag to help pay for some of those expenses. And then we'll also be getting a donation link. So if folks did want to donate to kind of help with this grassroots all volunteer cause, all of the money goes right back into what it costs us as organizers to run the group and try to provide the information for everybody. Get that website back up on the screen.
Yeah, it's not 100% live just yet. You can scroll through and look at the different items, but shipping isn't set up yet. So it should be live tomorrow. And
Awesome.
we will share links in the group. And the cool thing about getting swag is then when you show up to testify at the Unicameral, you'll be able to spot like-minded people because they'll be dressed just like you.
Awesome. So, and we will also be working on at some point trying to combine that store site with our regular website, but it's just piecing together. So we will have both links available for that, especially when we get it kicked off. Sounds like tomorrow. So make sure you go to www.nelegislativestudygroup.com. You can get signed up on our membership, sign up for our emails, follow our blog, which we do some recaps of different legislative happenings. And we should soon have a donate button link up there for those that would like to contribute. So, do we have any final thoughts before we let everyone go this evening? All right, awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for Second House Watch. We are the second house in the state of Nebraska, and we are watchful citizens that realize that the more we work together as a group, the more we can actually accomplish in following all of these bills and legislation that get passed. So thank you, Cindy, Kristen, Brooklyn, Melody. Tisha's back there behind the scene helping out with some of the comments and stuff. I think I have everybody. Marianne, who kind of fell off, but definitely helped out in the comments. So. And we will be here again in 2 weeks. We'll be doing this every other Tuesday night, and keep your eye out for those candidate interviews. Alrighty.
Awesome.
Thank you. Have a good night.